Welcome back to Fold in the Cheese. You're here with two angry men, recapping Week 16 in the NFL and the semifinals in the fantasy football playoffs. And I am joined today, very special guest, the Joe Pesci to my Gilbert Gottfried. Angry people. There's not like a movie I can even quote here. It's Ethan Gelfman.
There is a movie, Two Angry People, I thought, or it's 12 Angry Men anyway. But I'm specifically Joe Pesci from Goodfellas because, he just has the shortest fuse of anybody. So yes, angry people.
And I'm Gilbert Gottfried from Aladdin.
So you're Iago.
I'm Iago.
You're a bird.
Or from any of his other movies. Just an FYI on the front end, this will be an explicit episode. If there are children listening, this is not the episode for you. Sorry, Jack Comey. We don't have any good fantasy advice for you if you're still going into your championship.
And let's be honest, we're not really giving advice this one. We're going to tell you what's going on in the NFL quickly, and then it's just us going to be bitching about our teams.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do have some waiver claims for you. And you know what?
Sure.
Why don't we just go ahead and give waiver claims up front? So if anyone needs that information, get it out of the way. You could look at Cam Akers or Tyler Algier if you need a running back. Also look at Hassan Haskins. He's a running back at Tennessee. Good chance Derrick Henry gets rest this week. The Titans do not need this win. In fact, it would help their draft position if they lose on purpose. So I don't think you're going to see Derrick Henry. You may not
want to see him in the playoffs, man. You don't want to see your Titans go in the playoffs.
Oh, it doesn't matter. No, they have to win next week against the Jaguars.
Yeah.
So this game literally doesn't matter. And so and all it can do is hurt their draft position if they win. So I think they're going to either tank it or rest their stars like Derrick Henry. So you might see a lot of Hassan Haskins. Jahan Dotson in Washington had another strong week. Yep. He's legit. I think you could pick him up. Romeo Doubs and Alan Lazard. Christian Watson got injured. If he has to miss time, those two are going to soak up targets. Brandin Cooks actually played this week, scored a touchdown. You could do worse than him. And Russell Gage, 5 for 65, even with Julio playing. Those are some good waiver options. If you have Tua or Jalen Hurts and you need a quarterback, Mike White's at Seattle. Brock Purdy is at Vegas. Daniel Jones at home against Indy. I like all three of those guys.
Daniel Jones.
I think it looks like Mike White's going to play. So any of those guys I think will be fine for you. And there's your waiver claims. Go get them. And for the rest of the episode, we're just going to bitch.
Hold on. Before we go there, let's just do it backwards. So here comes the Do It Bet Board update.
Okay.
All right. Let's add this bad boy. So we're going to show the past 2 weeks because last week we had some technical difficulties. Couldn't show you our great slide. So if you look at Trevor Lawrence, he had in week 15, 35.8 points, which is obviously a great week, and then followed it up this past week with 18.2, which was a solid, against the Jets and the slap, still coming to the win. And then Jared Goff did the inverse, had 17 in week 15 against those same Jets. And then this week, when the Lions were terrible, granted defensively, against the Panthers, he got 32.7. So Goff still extended his lead slightly to Lawrence extended his lead slightly to 26 points right now. 2 weeks left, not looking good for Jared Goff, but stranger things have happened. So that's the quarterbacks. And as you see in our continual little update with our last third end of the season, Do It Bet Board, blind resume, running backs and wide receivers. Tony Pollard has a 75 to 63 point lead on Dalvin Cook. Dalvin slightly chipped in this past couple weeks, but still down 13 points. And then Ayuk versus Metcalf. I forgot to update the totals there. Excuse me. But Metcalf is clearly ahead.
Metcalf's up to 72. Ayuk has got like 40.
So Metcalf's doing all right. Ayuk is struggling. So there it is. Yeah. You Do It Bet Board update.
And this past week we had to Do It Bet. Derek Carr for you versus Kenny Pickett for me. Kenny Pickett, baby, let's go. 14.6 points.
Kenny Pickett.
His little tiny hands.
Yeah, screw you, Derek Carr. You only got Devontae Adams 2.5 points, and you couldn't have gotten him 4.5 points. Anyway, we'll get into that. So, yes, congrats. Yes. Hooray. Who cares? Who cares?
Everybody. Okay, let's get around the league, and then we'll hit a rant here. So, Patriots.
So let me start.
How about the Patriots?
Yeah, let me start with the Patriots. So, again, had zero expectations for the Patriots this week. Like they're going to get stomped by the Bengals, who have just been rolling. And the first half of the game, it looked exactly like that. It's like, oh, they're stomping them. That's fine. So then I don't pay attention. And then they pull it to 22-18. and they're on the 7-yard line of the Bengals with under 2 minutes left in complete control of this game. And what happens? Shocker, a turnover. Ramondre Stevenson runs it up to the 5. Maybe he tried to pitch it. He didn't.
Probably.
But he fumbled it.
Pitched it to the
Game
ground.
over. Bengals recover. Like, this is just sad. And I guess Mac Jones is now the Grayson Allen of the NFL. So good for him. Grayson Allen's the biggest douche in the world, always trying to trip people. So Mac Jones did the same thing to Eli Apple. So what a douche. Yeah. Okay. Your turn.
Proud of that, huh? You're proud of that quarterback of yours. I can tell.
Oh, yeah. Super pumped.
Broncos fired Nathaniel Hackett. That's been a long time coming. No one's surprised by that. We'll see if they fire Russell Wilson next. But maybe a coaching shift or mix up.
Instead of like releasing or cutting, they just say, Russell, you're fired. I would just
That's what I would do.
You never hear players
forget about. I wouldn't waive a player. I'd just be like, you're fired. You're fired from this job.
And I want that in the press release, not waived.
Yeah.
Fired.
Russell Wilson fired from Broncos. The Panthers ran all over.
Real quick on Nathaniel Hackett. Like, so if Aaron Rodgers, because obviously they hired Nathaniel Hackett because that was Rodgers' guy, right? That was his OC in Green Bay. So they're like, hey, come here, Aaron Rodgers. Do you think if Aaron Rodgers had gone to Denver, things would have been differently? Was it Hackett's fault? Was it Russell's fault?
I think it's Russell's fault, honestly. But I think Hackett's a terrible head coach. But I do think Russell has been the problem. I think Aaron Rodgers would have been different, although Aaron Rodgers hasn't been like electric this year either. But I think he's been a lot better than Russell Wilson.
Okay.
So yes, I think if Aaron Rodgers had gone to Denver, Nathaniel Hackett would probably still have a job.
Okay, fair. They both
just a guess. What the hell do I know? I don't know anything.
We know
just
nothing.
a guess. Panthers suddenly ran all over the Lions, who have had a really stingy run defense, and Chuba Hubbard and Deontay Foreman both go over 100. Did not see that coming.
They had 200. So we were watching that game because I was at my in-laws' house, and obviously we're in Detroit Lions country. So we were watching that game. 240 rushing yards at halftime. Like at half. Like I'm just watching the game. Chuba Hubbard, the first play of the game, busts it for 40 yards. He gets a spell. Deontay Foreman, 30-yard run. I'm like, what is happening here? Like, ungodly.
Yeah. I don't know. They shut down like every other running back and just got absolutely torched. How about the Titans? Speaking of the Titans earlier, they lost to the Texans. The 1-win Texans, now 2-win Texans. Tighten up, baby. Let's go.
Tighten up.
Yeah, Tannehill's done for the year, at least regular season. Malik Willis,
woof.
Not good.
He should be
not ready, as we said before. Not ready. So, yeah, like I said, the Titans play the Cowboys on Thursday Night Football this week, but the win does nothing for them because if they beat the Jaguars next week, they'll have the same record and they would have the head-to-head wins over the Jaguar, or they would have split the series with the Jaguars. They lost at home. But they'd have a better AFC record, or however the tie breaks go.
Tie breaks.
Whoever wins that game is going to the playoffs.
Yeah. Wow.
So they have no reason to win this week, which is good. Take the pressure off because they weren't going to beat Dallas anyway. So might as well just roll over. Zach Wilson got benched again on Thursday Night Football. Gotta love that. Good
this
times.
Was super sad. Again, as I watched parts of this game, and we're just again wasn't really like fully paying attention to it, and then all of a sudden I'm like, wait, where's Zach Wilson? Who is? So I expected to see Joe Flacco. No, they put in Chris Streveler, and he was signed off the practice squad that week. And what was the worst stat is like first 3 quarters, 78 yards of offense. First Chris Streveler drive, 84 yards. I'm like, oh my God. Zach Wilson has to be done in New York. Maybe the NFL.
Done in New York.
Bad. Like,
I don't think he's done the NFL yet, but
you can't trade him. He has 0 trade value. You just got to drop him, right? Or fire him.
Yeah. I think they got to drop him.
Wow.
Which they should. And let him try somewhere else, you know?
Yikes. Anyway, Mike White's going to play next week. Thank God.
Yeah, Robert Saleh's already like, yeah, Mike White's going to play. I don't care about his ribs. He's fine.
Yeah. He's
really sad news, Tua. It's back in concussion protocol. This happened during the game, I guess, but didn't affect him during the game. Like, he didn't come out, and it wasn't like a big hit kind of a play. I saw a tweet from Schefter that said it looked like there was one play where he kind of hit his head on the turf. That was probably the play where it happened, I guess, but he self-reported some symptoms yesterday. And so God, I'm really worried about that dude. That's 3 in one season,
3 in one
including
season.
2 really bad ones. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know. You got to worry about someone's like long-term future after that kind of stuff.
true.
Much less like and like the football news is the Dolphins are in the playoff hunt and they need to win, and you're like, you cannot trot him back out there.
Mm-mm.
And honestly, Teddy Bridgewater is like a really
He's a
adequate
great
backup.
backup.
I think you'd be fine, but
top 5
man,
backup
if they
in the
make the
league.
playoffs, like if they make the playoffs and Tua doesn't play these last 2 games, you gonna put him out there? Like, God,
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's freaky.
It's a bad look for the NFL.
That is bad.
Christian Watson, we mentioned him earlier. He's got a hip injury. He's day to day. Keep an eye on that as far as waivers go. Jalen Hurts has not been ruled out yet for this week. They had a close game against Dallas. I thought Gardner Minshew played really well.
He did.
And I don't think they need to play Jalen Hurts to beat New Orleans. There's something there with the New Orleans thing because I think the Eagles get New Orleans draft pick this year. So they want to make sure they win this game,
which again,
not only to clinch the number 1 seed, but also it makes their draft pick better if New Orleans does worse.
Which again, we're claiming was the Ricky Williams trade from years ago.
Ricky Williams trade, yeah, it was from back then. Colt McCoy, hopeful to return from concussion protocol this week. Trace McSorley was so god awful, as I said before the games. Should not be in the NFL. I mean, this is worse than Zach Wilson. This is bad. But he's a third stringer, so
yeah,
it's fine.
Say, right? Zero expectations for a third stringer.
The number 2 pick and a starter. Like this kid's at least a third stringer who's just like floating around the league.
Yeah.
What do you expect? Lamar Jackson is back to being questionable. There's a chance he plays. They need him. They're in a playoff run as well, trying to get in. And then Debo may return to practice this week too. I think they'll slow play him a little bit. They don't necessarily need him.
They don't need him, especially with their positioning. Their playoff positioning is pretty much locked anyway. So
yeah. I imagine they're going to take it slow with him, but keep an eye on that. So that's what I got from around the league.
Yeah, that's fine. That's all we need because
that's all we need.
Let's be honest. We're either in this week is going to be the playoff semis for some leagues or the playoff championships. So yeah, not much. You're not going to be making too much drastic changes at this point. All these guys we listed, except for 2, have kind of been hurt already. So you're kind of you already have your backups and all that. So now it's just time to listen to our rants about what happened last week. So Kemp, you want to go first? Me? Want to set the stage? I feel like you should go second because you're fierier.
I'm much more fiery, but I've also got 4 scenarios.
I'm just giving one. About. So maybe you want to start one and flip flop and
maybe I'll do like 2 of them and then come back and then we'll sandwich. You know.
So just start off. Did you lose all 4?
Oh yeah, I'm out. I'm out. I've lost them at different times as well. I'll tell you. So I'll start with my earliest defeats. There's one league that I'm in that's a 12-teamer. It's on CBS, which is the absolute trashiest site to play fantasy football on. It is god-awful. Also, they run the playoffs a week earlier than every other league I'm in, and they don't tell you. Like, I forget.
Surprise.
Because every team makes it. And so, like...
Oh, that's stupid.
And like, your position is all based on how many points you score, not your record. So my record was, like, 7-6 or something, but it didn't matter. I was still, like, 3rd lowest point total or something like that. So whatever, all that doesn't really matter. It just, I had to play the first week, right? So it's week 14 and I'm playing and I end up losing by 0.9 points. And this is the week that T Higgins was supposed to play and got injured during warmups. I guess no one knew about it. And so I'm out in that league. And this is a big money league. This is like the highest buy-in that I have. And then meanwhile, like the next 2 weeks, I've won the next 2 matchups, but they don't matter because I'm like, I guess I'm out of the playoff ladder, you know? It's not double elimination or anything. I don't know. Like, I don't. There's no bracket. Like, I honestly don't even know what I'm doing. I don't know if I'm still.
I can't remember. Were you a good place watcher? The Good Place.
No, I watched most of the first season of it. Yeah.
Just because when they talk about like time and the flow of time, Jeremy bear me, so it's kind of just like that's how your playoff bracket is. It's just all
that's how it is. There's no actual bracket, so like I don't even know where I'm at in this thing, you know. I guess I'm in consolation and I'm winning it.
Maybe you got bumped back up into the championship. Who knows?
That's why I'm wondering. I don't think you can, but I do know they play until week 18 because like you get payouts for top points each week.
You could
so like I have to keep putting a roster out there, but there's also like paying for transactions. Like I'm not going to pay $2 for a player in hopes that it gets me more points this week if I have nothing to play for, you know. It's dumb.
After week 18, really you're probably just going to be mailed a $1,000 check somehow. Like,
maybe I'm rich. Maybe I'm rich. I don't know. So anyway, super frustrated by that first round exit when I should have won, and freaking T Higgins. And of course, I had every player on my bench would have done better than that, right?
Obviously.
So that's like a first round exit pre even the playoffs. Then I'm in a league with it's actually with my church.
And you're just swearing up a goddamn score.
I was like, this is one of those same as our Yahoo league. Like I started off and I was in last place. I was like 1-6 or something, and then I came into a tear. And this team is loaded, man. This team has got freaking. I traded away Jalen Hurts because I needed a running back, and I ended up getting Dalvin Cook, which was fine because I had Trevor Lawrence and Dak Prescott. So I was like, I'm fine at quarterback.
Yep.
But I've got Jamar Chase, Stephon Diggs, and DeAndre Hopkins, and I've got Dalvin Cook and Zeke. Okay, like this team is loaded.
How many teams are in this league?
This is a 10-teamer.
Wow.
This team is loaded. But you have to play tight end, you have to play defense and a kicker. Okay. Now, I did get 21 points out of my kicker because I picked up Chase McLaughlin that week, and I told you play your kickers against Minnesota. I was leading this game it was like the Monday night game or the Sunday night game. It's Washington and New York, round 2. And I'm leading the game, and I have Washington's defense. And I just need a defense that won't get me negative and won't get me, like 0. And so I had 4 points, and I was up by 1.5. And at the very end of the game, the Giants kick another field goal with like a minute left. They're already ahead. They kick another field goal, and I lose 3 points on my defense. It drops me down to 1 point, and now I lose the matchup by 2.2 points. Because of a fucking defense. I fucking hate playing with defenses and kickers. I just hate it. This is such garbage. Such garbage.
Yeah.
So I'm out of the playoffs there as well. And a game I should have won. We both had like the 2 highest scores of the week, just unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Okay. Well, so now why don't you talk about our league? And because you, first of all, you come from the 6th one, you scraped your way into the playoffs. So just a great underdog story there. So you're playing the 3 seed in the first round. You upset that matchup. So now you're in the semis going against the 2 seed, right? Yeah. Going against the 2 seed. So, first of all, I feel like exceeding expectations is good. Didn't even think you'd be there. Made it to the semis, but what happened there?
This is also one of those teams, though. It's like the Lions. I started out 1-6, and then I went 6-1, and I ended like 7-7. I mean, I was on a tear at the end of the season. Again, a good team. Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence. I've been flipping those two all year. I've got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Chris Godwin. I don't have a third receiver, and that's a problem. But I had Dalvin Cook, Jonathan Taylor, and Alvin Kamara. All right. And so I'm like in the first round of playoffs, I'm scrambling because Jonathan Taylor and Alvin Kamara are both on a bye, which was super fucking annoying as well. This is right before the playoffs.
I was going to say when you're in the playoffs.
14. And so I'm like scrambling because I'm like, I have to win this game to get into the playoffs. Right. And so I ended up trading Alvin Kamara. I found a guy who would trade Leonard Fournette. And I was happy with that because I like Fournette just fine. And Kamara had been kind of on the down slot. So anyway, the trade ends up being a good trade for me because Fournette has been really solid. He's been getting a ton of receptions. But of course, Jonathan Taylor gets hurt that week. So I make it in the playoffs. Now I'm down another running back. So I've got Fournette and Cook. And I picked up Cam Akers because you know how I felt about him preseason, and I kind of came back around on him.
Yep.
So I'm sitting here and I'm in my first round of the playoffs. I win the matchup. I get to the second round. I'm like, am I really going to start Cam Akers? Because Jonathan Taylor got hurt in the first round of the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, am I really going to start Cam Akers in my flex? I don't know about how I feel about that. Like, I don't trust the Rams. They look so bad. They're playing Denver, which Denver's defense is really good. Mm-hmm. And I need a third receiver as well. We talked about this on the air. I was looking at Marquise Goodwin. I was looking at Jahan Dotson, and I had Brandin Cooks as well, who had just boned me all year long. He just stopped playing. Well, he was apparently going to play because it was the Titans, and he knew he'd do well.
Yeah.
And I'm texting you. I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? Like, I'm just freaking out about, Marquise Goodwin had aggravated some ankle injury, and his wrist and his ankle are both hurt. End up going with Marquise Goodwin, who got 0 points. Good times.
Yep.
Then I took Deion Jackson for the Colts, thinking he would be the receiving back that we get a lot of work against the Chargers. Chargers run defense is soft anyway. 3.9 points. Cam Akers sitting on my bench with 35 points.
35 points.
And Brandin Cooks had 13.5. Jahan Dotson had 19.5. If I'd have played Akers and one of those guys instead of Goodwin and Jackson, I would be in the championship right now. And what do you know? I'm not.
What do you know? Hooray. This is great. Yeah, I mean, but no one would have seen what the Rams did to the Broncos. That's why Nathaniel Hackett does not have a job, or at least that was the exclamation point to make that happen. And the Brandin Cooks thing, the Brandin Cooks, I don't think lost you that. I don't think the Goodwin Cooks thing, was really the dagger. But
He got a 0.
He got a 0, but how much did he end up losing by?
40.
40.
I lost by 40, and I had 35 on the bench with Cam Akers, and I had 20 on the bench with Jahan Dotson.
But were you realistically thinking Cam Akers?
Yes, I was. Why would I be all in on Deion Jackson? He's a split backfield. I was like, I don't know which one of these guys to play. I'm going to go with the better matchup and hope that Deion Jackson is the guy. Yeah. But Cam Akers had been solid. I mean, it wasn't like he was great. I mean, I certainly didn't expect 35 points, but Jesus, man. Just wrong decisions, Drives me nuts.
This is where, as we just literally talked about off air, it's like it creates more stress. So very similar. So obviously I'm still fighting for my consolation life in our league. So I'm in the championship there. No big deal. But in my neighborhood league, I've been the number one team all year. Like I have been crushing it. I'm 12-3 going into the playoffs. So I'm the number one seed. I've been averaging 140 points per game. My team is stacked. So I have let me pull up my team. Why am I blanking?
This is an 8-teamer, right?
This is an 8-teamer.
But you're like extra stacked.
You said what?
But you're like extra stacked. I mean, even for
so here's my team. Quarterback, I'll do quarterback last, but I got wide receivers: Devontae Adams, Jalen Waddle, Jamar Chase. Like that's a 3-headed monster, right? That's
nasty.
Running backs, I got Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, have both been top 5 running backs all year. Tight end Pat Frymuth, who's been solid. He gets me 10 points a game, which totally good with that. And then my flex, here's who I've been. In the first half of the season, I had Travis Etienne there. He's which he was doing great for me.
Yep.
Obviously, the second half of the season, he kind of went down, but who I'd been stashing all year, Deandre Hopkins. So he's been in my flex because he has been averaging like 18, 19 points a game since his return. And this is a kicker and defense league. Doesn't matter. They've been doing great. I have the San Francisco defense, so they've been great. And I have Daniel Carson for the Raiders. So that's not the big thing. So I'm going into the playoffs against the 4 seed who I've beaten twice, but then I'm actually looking at the matchup. And I'm like, damn, her team is better than what her record says. I'm like, damn it, I'm kind of nervous about this matchup. But I still felt good. The one question mark I had was, so I didn't mention my quarterback is Tom Brady. All right. But I picked up Trevor Lawrence later in the year, obviously, because he's been doing so well. So you and I went in deep discussion about Brady and Lawrence. And I'm like, oh, man, I'm not sure. At first you were heavy Lawrence. Then we kind of backed off it a little bit just because of the weather and stuff like that and the Jets defense. So I ended up going with Brady just because I felt like, he's playing against the Cardinals. It's inside weather. Like he should absolutely torch the Cardinals. So I'm figuring,
yes,
good. All right. So she has Daniel Jones, Stephon Diggs, T. Higgins, CeeDee Lamb, Christian McCaffrey, Kenneth Walker, Dalton Schultz, Jamal Williams, Nick Folk, Tennessee. So I'm looking at like, damn.
That's a good team.
That's a good team.
Yeah.
So Thursday night happens. Nothing really of interest. So I'm watching the Lions game. Like, just as long as Jamal Williams doesn't score, I'm good. He doesn't. So I'm thinking, great. But freaking T. Higgins went off, got 23
and Zylstra caught 3 touchdowns because why not?
And CeeDee Lamb caught 2 touchdowns. So I'm like, crap. Daniel Jones gets her 23 points. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So I'm in a hole. So going into Sunday night, I'm down by 15 points. She's done. Like, she was done super early. Like, all her guys were like on Saturday. So I'm sitting there looking at like, okay, she has 115 points. I have 50, but I have like most of my team playing. So I'm thinking, okay, like I should be okay. My projections were still high, all that stuff. It still said I'm going to win. Okay. So then let's see what my team does. Jamar Chase, 9.9 points. Okay. Not great. Devontae Adams, 2.5 points. So not solid. Okay. So Jalen Waddle, good, 23 points. Derrick Henry was solid, 17.6. Saquon was great, 23. Okay. So then it comes down to Sunday night. And I have my quarterback and DeAndre Hopkins playing. Okay. So they're on opposite ends, which is great for me because one way or another, either Brady's going to be throwing because they're down or the Cardinals are going to be throwing because they're down. So either way, good scenario for me. All I need is 15.5 points to win between the two of them. Or excuse me, I needed 17 points between the two of them.
Tom Brady and DeAndre Hopkins.
DeAndre Hopkins,
you think Hopkins can do that by himself, right?
Hopkins has been averaging that, and Brady's been averaging at least 20. Tom Brady got 15.8. So I'm like, oh, okay. DeAndre Hopkins can get 2 points. Even Devontae Adams on a terrible day got 2.5. DeAndre Hopkins, 1 catch, 4 yards. And this is a half-point PPR league for 0.9 points. I lose by 1. Hooray!
DeAndre Hopkins lost me my fourth league. I lost because of him as well.
You're right. And this is where it just, you want to punch yourself in the face and just, and the sad thing was, like, I'm watching the game on my phone, it's late. It's a late game anyway. And then I'm like, oh crap, it's 16-16. They're going to overtime and I still need 3 points. So I'm like, I don't know which is better. I'm trying to do the math. I'm doing the scenarios. I'm like, all right, well, Brady will need a lot more yards, but they're going to get into field goal range and just kick it. So maybe he'll throw like a deep touchdown, or on the inverse, if the Cardinals get it, they can just, all I need is Hopkins to get like 2 catches for 20 yards. Yeah. Brady ends up getting the ball and he got more yards, but just the field isn't long enough for points. And so they kick the field goal and it doesn't happen.
They both had the ball.
Yeah, they both had the ball. That's right. The Cardinals started.
Tampa had the ball, did nothing with it. Arizona had the ball, did nothing with it. Tampa got the ball again, and he still, in all of that time, couldn't get 3 points from those 2 players. I mean, this is like we said last year. I mean, I'm sure everyone remembers my rant from last year about freaking Amon-Ra St. Brown and Zeke Elliott and start your studs and everyone on ESPN and every site telling you that I know Zeke's been terrible, but you got to start him anyway and all blah, 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 bullshit, all of it, right? So I decided this year, I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm just not going to do that. I'm not going to care about name value necessarily. I'm just going to look at matchups and trends and see read the tea leaves, whatever. And so, yeah, maybe I should have started Cam Akers because of that, because he'd kind of ramped a little bit, but his ceiling looked like 10 points, and I needed 40. I needed a lot. And I've seen Deion Jackson previously in the year have some big games, when Jonathan Taylor was hurt, he had 28 points one game when Jonathan Taylor was hurt, and he was coming off a 10-point game anyway after Taylor got hurt because he was the receiving down back. And I thought Chargers are going to win. Colts are going to be behind. He's going to be the receiving back. That's probably a good thing, right? So logic is all there. So I'm not even mad about
no logic in fantasy football at this point. It's such garbage. I hate it.
Yes, the process was there, I guess. Yes. I'm not even mad about that because I didn't do that bullshit this year. I was not overly worried about but it's Brandin Cooks and he's great. I'm like, no, he's been fucking garbage. I'm not going to play him, and he hasn't played. And when he did play, he wasn't even that good.
Right.
So I'm proud of myself for sticking to that. I'm just, if it's not one thing, it's another. And so I'm eternally frustrated. And that's why I just, I'm in that zone where I'm just done with this game. I lost by 6 points. I lost a matchup, 5.5. I needed McLaughlin to have 10 points kicker. I was relying on a kicker on Monday night, which I was not happy about, not excited about, but I was like, listen, the guy he's had a big point games. He had 21 one game. It's possible. He kicked a 40-something yarder right before halftime to get me 4 points. And I was like, okay, manageable. If they just, 2 more field goals and I'm there. But this is after I had DeAndre Hopkins get me 1.4 points. And I'm like, could have done without that. So I end up getting no more points out of Chase McLaughlin, and I lose in the semifinals of my neighborhood league. And I'm just like, there again, had the better team, and the team I was playing against was good, just like what you're talking about. It was a good team. I was like, dang, I'm not feeling great about this, but I have a good team. This team's loaded, and I'm freaking done with it. I'm freaking done with it.
It's literally always at this point.
It's always during Christmas time too. It's already stressful enough, and I'm trying to stay in a good mood and happy and all that. And I'm just so mad every year at this thing. I don't know if I want to fucking do this anymore. I just don't know.
No, I get it, man. It's literally always, especially it's always the way the losses happen. Because let's be honest, if we had just gotten blown out and nothing would have happened, nothing we could have done, it's like, all right, it just That just happened. Nothing we could have done. But the fact that it's such garbage ways to lose, I think that's the more brutal part. And then also it's like, so for my team, again, dominated the entire regular season. Like just there's no problem. And then all of a sudden, my team just decided to crap itself. Averaged 140 points. I put up 115. And so this is what I'm talking about. So preseason, going into drafts and stuff, I'm always like, you know what? Wait on quarterbacks. They're deep. It's fine. Just wait up. Honestly, I'm rethinking because that is the position that hurt. That was my weakest position all year in that league, in our league, and it hurt me. It hurt me. So I think I am completely rethinking my draft strategy and the fact that I'm going to go and get a top 4 quarterback each time where you are going to get 25 to 30 points each week, because I can't keep don't get me wrong, Jared Goff was solid for me down the stretch in our league. He was. But during the middle of the stretch where I went on a 3-game losing streak, he was getting me 5, he would get me 12, and that's where I would lose because of that. And so in this league,
you just can't afford to have that.
Brady was my weakest link, but it didn't matter because the rest of my team was just carrying him. It didn't matter how many points he got. I was fine. But in a game where they're struggling, I would need my quarterback to step up, and he didn't. And so, yeah, I think I'm rethinking my strategy. I'm going to get a top 4 quarterback just because I can't have that detriment, that holding me back, that not guaranteed points. So, yeah, coming into next season, I'm switching it up.
New and improved Ethan. So to piggyback on that, in our league, it's a 6-point passing touchdown. Josh Allen had one game of 14.5 points in week 11. Every other game was over 20. Every game was over 20. And so that's where you don't ever have to worry that your quarterback is going to limit you.
Like, honestly, with Jared Goff, and again, he had some great games down the stretch, but at the same point, I'm still like, I never know. I can never just assume I'm getting that out of him. And
Mahomes is over 20 every game. Yeah. Every single game.
I'm just going to get Mahomes second round.
And so you're just like, whatever. I mean, we always talk about like, hey, you're blowing a really big pick on that. And I do think if you look back on previous years, there is a quarterback or two that you could have waited on and would have been better suited. But picking that guy, like I thought that was Russell Wilson this year. Boy, was I wrong.
Matt Stafford.
Matt Stafford. Yeah, exactly. Last year, I thought Jalen Hurts, and that was right. But this year, wrong. Like you're going to get it wrong too. And when you get it wrong, it hurts so bad, And then in that league the CBS league, I drafted, that league is also very quarterback heavy. These guys, they scoop them up real fast because they get a point for every 20 yards instead of 25. And it makes just enough difference that like, if you don't have a good quarterback, you're screwed.
Yeah.
And so I drafted Dak and Trey Lance. I was like, I'm going to have a backup. Trey Lance has got all his high upside, whatever.
Yeah.
Week 1, both of them injured. One for the season, one for like 6 weeks. And I was like, and then you go to the waiver wire in that league, and it's like you're getting Derek Carr, or Daniel Jones. You're just screwed. There's no one left. It's a 12-teamer anyway. And so, and everyone gets 2 quarterbacks. Like, brutal.
It's funny you bring up Daniel Jones. I think that's where also I get upset that I lost to Daniel Jones.
Well, because any other week he's going to have 6 points, and then the week he plays you, he's going to have 25.
I think I lost to Daniel Jones in those 2 leagues combined 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. It's just not. It's not even worth it. Honestly, it's just so. It's so frustrating. So and to your point, like
you're getting, I like to reward Kelce in the first round. I'm
taking Travis Kelce in the first round, and I'm with you on quarterbacks. I'll probably take Josh Allen in the second round, and I'll figure out the rest of my team.
Yeah,
figure it out.
I think my philosophy has completely changed, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I'm on the verge of eliminating tight ends as well. I'm just going to eliminate every position that's such a wild card. It's so garbage. We should just flex everything. It should just be like 7 flexes in a quarterback.
7 flexes. Start 2 quarterbacks too, maybe.
That shit gets crazy. I don't know if I'm ready for that.
I've never been in a league.
7 flexes in the quarterback. Let's just run it.
So anyway, in my neighborhood league, congrats to Katie. She beat me. So Katie and Dawn are going to be in the championship. I'm just happy Jason lost. He got upset as well. He was the 2 seed. Yeah. So he and I will be battling it out for the 3rd place game. So Katie and Dawn, good luck in the championship. Jay, I'll see you in the 3rd place game. And then, so kind of whatever.
I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention our friend Towel and his good fortune as well. So I'll be facing Towel in 3rd place game. 2 years ago, Towel was heading into the semifinals and he was getting ready to win and go to the championship, and he needed 1 point, 1.5 maybe, from Eric Ebron, his tight end, who was on the Steelers at the time.
Who'd been doing well.
And it was like the first series of the game, Eric Ebron blows out his knee and is done. And he got no catches. And Towel loses because he got 0 from his tight end. Well, this year, Towel, also in the semifinals, he needs about 9 points from Gerald Everett,
which has been right in his wheelhouse. 7 to 10 points.
Yeah, he's honestly can do better, can do more than that. So I texted him yesterday, and I'm like, hey, not to put this out there, but last time you needed points from a tight end to get into the championship, this happened. And I screenshotted him getting 0, and he's like, don't you dare. Don't you dare. I just need – it was like – he needed like 4 catches for 36 yards. I mean, it's like a 7 – he needed like 7 points, I think.
Yeah, 7 points.
It was bad. And so Gerald Everett gets him a donut, 0, Towel, head to the third place game with me. All right, brother. I'll see you there.
See you there. All right. Well, hey, at least going to get on that podium. But in our league, you'd be remiss. I'm going for a consolation championship. First of all, Drader, 12 seed, makes it to the championship of the consolation. So I'll be seeing him there. Maybe we'll do a fun one.
Super exciting.
We'll see.
Super exciting. I'm rooting for Ricky. Ricky has not won in the league before. Ricky is a real up-and-comer. Really good at this sport, fake sport.
Long-time listener.
Long-time listener, friend of the podcast. Been on a few times. I'm rooting for Ricky to bring home the championship, bring home the belt. He'll be facing Chris, who has won recently. I lost to him 2 years ago in the championship.
Yep.
Yeah, I like both these guys, but Ricky's never won. I'm rooting for him.
All right, Rick. If you need Geno Smith, pick him up. That's your time.
Yeah, Ricky had Jalen Hurts, so he's hoping he plays this week. I don't think he will, but
dang. Okay, well, we're depressed, we're angry, all that stuff. Even the merriest time of the year, although it's the Christmas hangover now, so it's kind of like everything sucks. So anyway, until next time, we'll come back. We'll talk about some games. Keep on folding? ?
Fucking fold it.